There exists a place not marked on any map, a realm unseen by ordinary eyes, but nestled deep within the landscape of the soul, a hidden corner of our inner world. It is called the Mirror House, a name whispered in hushed tones among those who know of its existence. This is no ordinary house of glass, no simple reflection of reality, but a labyrinth of reflections. A kingdom of possibilities, a swirling vortex of potential selves. Every wall, ceiling and floor is a mirror. An endless expanse of shimmering surfaces, showing not just what is, the present moment captured in glass, but what could be. The myriad paths diverging from your current course, what you might have been, had you made different choices along the way, and what others expect you to be, the roles and masks society tries to impose. To enter is to risk losing yourself, to become adrift in a sea of reflections, not by a wrong turn, a simple misstep in the maze, but by forgetting who you were when you stepped inside, by surrendering your true self to the illusions. The air hums with the energy of unlived lives and choices not taken, a symphony of unrealized potential. Imagine a hallway where every surface shows a different version of you, a kaleidoscope of alternate realities. A king, ruling with absolute power, a beggar, stripped bare and vulnerable, a scholar, lost in the pursuit of knowledge. The house offers every identity, every conceivable role except the one you truly own, the genuine self buried beneath layers of expectation and fear. It is a beautiful, terrible prison, a gilded cage built of shimmering illusions, tempting you with grandeur, the promise of wealth and power, frightening you with failure, the specter of inadequacy and regret, all to keep you from seeking what matters, from discovering the truth within yourself. Many souls wander these halls, lost and searching, drawn by curiosity, ambition, the allure of something more, or the fear of being ordinary, the terror of a life unlived. The reflections whisper, seductive and insidious, promises of what could be, of a brighter future just within reach, and threats of what might never be, dark warnings of failure and regret, convincing because they are all, in some way, a part of you, fragments of your own potential. The mirror house grows with every soul it captures, its labyrinthine corridors expanding ever outward, feeding on your very essence, secret hopes, the dreams you dare not speak aloud, and hidden fears, the anxieties that haunt your waking hours. Its power lies in making you believe, in subtly twisting your perception. You must choose one reflection to be complete, that only by embracing one of these false selves can you find fulfillment. But this is the house's great deception, the lie at the heart of its power. To be trapped here is to be at war with yourself, to wage a constant battle against your own reflections, every glance a confrontation, a challenge to your sense of self, every moment a choice between shimmering lies, a constant struggle to discern truth from illusion. The journey is not about finding the right mirror, the perfect reflection to embrace, but the courage to see your own face unadorned and true, to accept yourself for who you are, flaws and all. It is a journey back to the heart, a quest to reclaim your authentic self. Let us speak of one such soul, a traveler we will call the pilgrim. The pilgrim did not remember how they arrived at the mirror house. It seemed as though they had always been there, wandering silent, gleaming corridors. Their heart was heavy, their face a canvas of confusion. The pilgrim felt utterly lost, a question without an answer, adrift among their own potential faces. Each day they searched the mirrors for something familiar, but every image was a stranger, a warrior, a musician, a merchant. The reflections mimicked their gestures but offered no comfort, hollow masks, beautiful and empty. Surrounded by thousands of versions of themselves, the pilgrim felt more alone than ever. The silent gazes of the reflections weighed heavy with judgment and expectation, echoing questions of bravery, creativity, and love. The pilgrim began to believe the reflections, feeling like an empty space where a person should be. The journey had not yet truly begun, for the pilgrim had not yet realized they were on one. Each mirror was a portal into a life that could be lived. One ornate mirror showed the pilgrim as a powerful ruler, confident and respected. Another, simple and unadorned, revealed a hermit at peace in the forest, content with little. A third, round as the moon, reflected an adventurer, fearless and free, charting unknown seas. Each vision was tempting, power, peace, freedom. But to choose one meant abandoning all the others, and each came with unseen burdens. The ruler's heavy crown, the hermit's solitude, the adventurer's peril. The mirror house presented perfect lives, hiding the struggle and sacrifice behind them. The pilgrim stood paralyzed before these choices, each reflection a complete world. The house offered destinations without journeys, rewards without work. This was its cleverest trick. The pilgrim felt the weight of possibility, but also the pain of indecision. The mirrors promised everything, but delivered only confusion. The real challenge was not choosing, but seeing through the illusion. As the pilgrim wandered, a new torment began, not a vision but a whisper from within. Who am I? If I can be all these things, what am I now? The question echoed, both key and lock. Doubt corroded what little certainty remained. The pilgrim's hands, once symbols of possibility, now seemed purposeless. The mirror house had seeped inside, turning their mind into a hall of confusing reflections. The whispers grew sharper. You are not good enough. You are too afraid. The reflections judged silently. The pilgrim felt crushed by the weight of their own potential, paralyzed by the fear of choosing wrong. In despair, they longed for darkness, for a moment without mirrors. It was in this moment of absolute despair that the first crack appeared, not in the glass, but in the pilgrim's perception. In the depths of despair, the pilgrim noticed something different. A tear rolling down their cheek, distorting the mirrored floor. For a moment they saw not a king or a beggar, but simply their own eye, wet with sorrow, a reality, not a possibility. This small truth was a candle in the darkness. The pilgrim looked at their hands not for purpose, but as they were real, imperfect, alive. They realized the journey out would begin by looking inward, not outward. With this awareness, the pilgrim took a conscious step, ignoring the grand mirrors and seeking out the flaws. Cracks, dust, warped glass. In these imperfections, the reflections lost their power. The pilgrim focused on the feeling of their feet on the ground, the rhythm of their breath, in, out, here, now. They were not in the mirror, they were here. This was the first true step to freedom. The self was not in a reflection, but in the experience of being alive. The journey had finally begun. The pilgrim's new path was one of deliberate action, a conscious choice to move forward with purpose. Each step was a rejection of the stagnant reflections of the past, seeking the real over the reflected, embracing the tangible world instead of the deceptive allure of mirrored surfaces. In a forgotten wing, a place where time seemed to stand still, the mirrors were old and cracked, bearing the marks of age and neglect, their surfaces marred by the passage of time. Their reflections fractured, fragmented into 1,000 distorted images, and chaotic, a swirling vortex of broken realities and shattered perceptions. At first unsettling, the sight of these fragmented reflections was jarring, a stark contrast to the flawless images the house had always presented. But these broken images soon felt honest, a raw and unfiltered glimpse into the imperfections of existence. Life as a mosaic of imperfect pieces, each fragment contributing to a larger, more authentic whole. Empowered by this newfound perspective, the pilgrim picked up a shard of glass, a small fragment of the shattered illusions that had once held them captive, and scarred a flawless mirror, defacing the pristine surface with a deliberate act of rebellion. Marking the serene hermit's face, disrupting the placid image with a stark reminder of reality. The act was liberating, a symbolic breaking of chains, a declaration of reality over illusion, of truth over deception, of authenticity over artifice. The perfect images lost their power, their flawless surfaces now marred by imperfections, as the pilgrim scarred more mirrors, each scratch a defiant act against the house's control, reclaiming their story, rewriting their narrative, and taking ownership of their own identity. Each scratch was a word in a new language, a language of imperfection, of authenticity, and of self-acceptance. I am not perfect. I am real. The house's spell weakened, its power waning with each act of defiance, with every mark, every imperfection etched into its once flawless surfaces. The pilgrim was not destroying out of anger, not driven by rage or resentment, but out of a need to be true, to align their inner self with the reality they presented to the world. The mirrors, once intimidating, their reflections, once a source of fear and self-doubt, became canvases for honesty, a space to express their true selves, imperfections and all. The pilgrim's will was stronger, their resolve unwavering in the face of the house's illusions, than the house's illusions, its carefully constructed facade of perfection beginning to crumble. The journey was no longer about escape, no longer a desperate flight from the house's control, but about transformation, a profound and lasting change from within. The pilgrim was writing their own story, taking control of their destiny, one imperfection at a time, embracing their flaws and vulnerabilities as strengths. and with each mark, each act of defiance against the house's control, the house lost its hold, its power fading with every scratch, every imperfection, every act of self-acceptance. As the mirrors cracked, the house grew quieter. The whispers of doubt faded, replaced by a living silence. In this silence, the pilgrim heard their true voice, gentle, steady, speaking of simple things: sun, water, breath. The pilgrim sat among shattered mirrors, eyes closed, and found peace where once there was torment. The steady beat of their heart became their center. The self was not in a reflection or an idea, but in the undeniable reality of existence. The heart did not ask, "Who are you?" It simply stated, "I am." The great revelation: the self is not found but listened to. Identity is not a destination but a presence. The pilgrim was not a king, hermit, or adventurer. They were the one who walks, feels, breathes, and lives. The war within ceased. The pilgrim was whole. The pilgrim opened their eyes. The mirror house was no longer a prison, but a place of broken illusions. The cracked mirrors were powerless. The pilgrim's compass was now within. This compass pointed not to a place but to what felt true: honesty, courage, acceptance. The pilgrim walked with confidence, seeing the reflections as stories, not destinies. All the unlived lives were part of them, but none defined them. The self was a river, not a statue, capable of many things at once. Accepting this multiplicity was the final key. The pilgrim no longer needed to be one thing, but themselves, in all their complexity. They accepted fear and courage, wisdom and foolishness, sadness and joy. In total acceptance, the war within ended. The pilgrim saw their hands for what they were, their own. Capable of anything, bound to no single destiny, they belonged only to themselves. At the end of the final corridor, after what felt like an eternity of winding passages and echoing silence, the pilgrim saw a simple wooden door. It stood unassuming, yet beckoned with an unspoken promise. It was slightly ajar, revealing a tantalizing glimpse of golden light spilling through the opening, a beacon in the otherwise dim and somber atmosphere. It was the light of a real sun, not the artificial glow of the mirror house, a light that promised warmth and life. With the light came the scent of earth and rain drifting in, a fragrance that spoke of open spaces and untamed beauty, a stark contrast to the sterile air of the house. The pilgrim walked toward the door, each step deliberate, heart calm despite the anticipation, steps unhurried as if savoring the final moments within the familiar confines. They paused at the threshold, a moment of reflection before crossing the boundary between the known and the unknown. They took one last look, looking back at the scarred halls with gratitude for the lessons learned and the challenges overcome. The house had been a prison, confining them within its mirrored walls, and a teacher guiding them towards self-discovery through trials and tribulations. It was a place that forced them to seek truth in silence, not reflection, to find their own inner voice amidst the cacophony of external expectations. The mirror house is a place everyone enters at some point in their lives, a labyrinth of self-doubt and societal pressures. It is the kingdom of shoulds and what-ifs, where the echoes of past regrets and future anxieties reverberate endlessly. Escape is not about destroying mirrors in a fit of rage or denying their existence. It is about seeing them for what they are: mere reflections, distortions, and illusions that hold no power unless we grant them that power. True escape lies in choosing the reality of one's own heart, in embracing authenticity and self-acceptance. The door had always been there, a constant presence amidst the shifting illusions. It was waiting patiently for the one ready to walk through, ready to leave behind the confines of the mirror house and embrace the vastness of their own potential. With a gentle push, a final act of self-liberation, the pilgrims stepped into the sunlight, leaving the shadows behind. They took a deep breath, filling their lungs with fresh air, the air of freedom and possibility. Outside was a simple path through a field, a path that stretched towards the horizon. It was ordinary, yet beautiful in its simplicity, a testament to the beauty that lies in the everyday. The pilgrim stepped out, leaving behind the weight of expectations and the burden of self-doubt. They stepped out, not as a king or hero burdened by destiny, but as themselves, an ordinary person embracing their authentic self. The journey was not over, it had only just begun. The path stretched on, winding through fields and forests, leading towards an unknown future. But now, they had a compass within their heart, a guiding light that would lead them true, and that was all they would ever need, the unwavering truth of their own heart to guide them on their way.